Hello there, traveler. Welcome to the castle, or, I guess more accurately, Cabin in the Woods by RGBWomble. I'd like to share my thoughts about a book I've read, if you're willing to indulge a dragon. Thank you, traveler. Let's begin. Mitzvot is a novel written by Madison Rye Progress and is self-published. I'm struck by how my initial impression of the shape of the story was going to be a redemption arc for True Name, and how that assumption changed over the course of the story. It is less a redemption arc and more so a reckoning arc, one full of consequences for herself and her co-cladists for all of her meddling and the ways in which she has lived her life up until the inciting incident of the book. A notable difference in this book, as compared to the first three, is the absence of a split narrative structure. I think this was the right decision, especially for the type of story being told here. Splitting out so much happening so quickly over two different perspectives would quickly become a bit much, I would imagine. There are still moments where a chapter or two are from a different character's perspective, but the majority is focused squarely on Eowyn, May Then My Name, and True Name. I really enjoyed the chapters we got from Debar's point of view, since he's such an important character from the beginning of the series, with his involvement with the Lost and his position on the Council of Eight. It was refreshing to see his take on some of the established characters, and the tender moments with End Waking were lovely to read. One of the main themes of the book for me was the concept of change. Change has been a major theme through all of the post-self books, but it feels incredibly apt here in Mitzvot. It is also incredibly domestic, and while the stakes are not as high on paper, the book manages to feel more tense in those conversations. Discussions over who is crossing which boundary feel as fraught as those interviews Eowyn and True Name conducted so many years ago. There are a lot of small scenes over the course of the story that add up to these big emotional moments, and they're all based in talks over morning coffee or sharing a meal around a fire. But I think that's the beauty of it and what sets Mitzvot apart from the other three books in the series. Those little day-to-day conversations build up and affect who you are, and as a result of that, you will inevitably change. There's a great line in the book about love being made up of a million little nothing moments that come together to form a greater whole, and that really resonated with me. Mitzvot drills down deeper into the lives of its characters and shows us that between the world-shattering projects that change the very understanding of the system, they're just people trying to live their lives with love and purpose. The person I am is always changing in response to trauma, love, loss, and all the little things that get me through my day-to-day. True Name is no exception, and her transformation throughout the book into the person she becomes brings together all of these questions that the Post-Self series has been exploring. How much lived experience is necessary for you to become a new person? Are some emotional scars too deep to heal? And can time really heal that wound when you can no longer forget? And, of course, how many skunks can you fit inside of a queer sci-fi book and still get away with it? Before I close out the review, a few words for Selected Letters. It's a collection of letters between the Ballinclade that serve as a kind of epilogue to Mitzvot. I really enjoy the idea that the letters function as a way for these instances to keep in touch. It gave me a kind of long-distance relatives updating their cousins on who recently got married, since they wouldn't be there to experience those big moments with them kind of vibe. I think one of the biggest themes from Selected Letters, at least for me, was the concept of looking towards the future and facing it with a bit of hope. There will always be change coming on the horizon, but as long as you're here with me, it can't be that bad. I will also say that the ending letter had me close to tears, and that's always going to be a point in my favor. Sentimental sap that I am. I will miss these characters deeply, but I am glad to have had the chance to see where their collective story ended up. It's no surprise that this series was a favorite of mine, what with the LGBTQ+ cast, furries, and the use of programming concepts in its world building. If you're into sci-fi or just love a good fleshed out world, I would recommend giving the books a try. I can't guarantee that you'll love them like I do, but I do feel as though you'll be changed by the experience, even if just slightly. There is no going, and there is no back after all. Until next time, curl up with a good book, and be kind to yourself.